Hello, I'm Debbie Bell-Hosking for Finextra, and with me is Glynn Roberts. Hello, Glynn.
Hello, Debbie.
Glynn is from Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and we're talking about internal operations. So, Glynn, what approach do you see banks and building societies taking in terms of transforming their internal operations?
That's a very interesting question because over the last couple of years, there's been a development and a maturing of the understanding of what digitisation is. Digitisation seems to be the word everybody's using. Previously, everybody's been concentrating on the digital channels, mobile, internet, through the tablet and so on. But now the focus is coming on the back end, what's happening to the internal operations, particularly around saving costs. So their approach is now to start looking at it as what can they do to differentiate themselves. There's not a lot of differentiation between the late adopters and mainstream because they've come from a legacy background. Because of that, then actually what's happened is the early adopters are starting to really look at what can happen next. So that's the main approach, is looking at digitising the back-end operations rather than the channels, the front end, the customer experience. That's all key. The early adopters are now starting to move into things like Activate now. So you haven't even got to apply. And that's all because now we can access the data. And by accessing the data, we can start looking at straight-through processing. A really key driver from the consumer today, they expect it every day on the high street. Now retail banking has got to move to that as well.
So banks and building societies may find their legacy environment restrictive in terms of transforming their internal operations. Yeah. What new technologies are there that can help with this?
Well, the big focus is their access to the core. So through APIs, and because APIs now give us that ability to get to that core data, then actually what you're able to do is start looking at the straight-through processing, enabling us to get to the records so that you can do some of the challenges that they've been looking at for a long time. Single customer view, we can provide one version of the truth to everybody. So transparency, accessibility, they're all key. And that's what's now being enabled through APIs.
And why is it important for banks to invest in internal operations, and what are the benefits?
Well, the benefits are, as I've alluded to, is around cost saving. There's always been an objective to save costs, but they've also got to look at how they're going to generate revenue. Because taking out costs, if you're going to remove 168 million points of customer contact through issuing statements or whatever, at some point you've still got to get the product manager and the marketeer to be able to communicate with the public or with the customers. So they've got to look at it from both a cost saving and a revenue generation side. And that access to that core data is what will be key. So the APIs, the use of data, the use of Internet of Things. So we can start looking at much broader data. Banks have been doing this for a very long time. The very best relationship managers do it naturally. What is now there is it's available in much greater scale through big data, through the information that's available. So that will give them revenue plus saving cost savings. And by doing that, they will remove all those bits of paper that we really hate to have to fill in every time we apply for a product.
Yes. And Glynn, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us about internal operations.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching.